finally, Zels, we can talk about some games that had meaning.
Let's just cut to it. Let's get to the part where we talk about your predictions.
Forget, I'm not going to beat my chest about my predictions, but I got everyone right.
Mate, all jokes aside, not only did you get them right, and you made some pretty big calls, you literally got the margin close or on point across the board.
Yeah, I had the All Blacks to lose by 15, they lost by 14. And then I had the Boks to win by 17, they won by 15. Manie, you owe me 2 points, man. But yeah, I thought the Boks were outstanding defensively against Scotland. They took Finn Russell out that game. Duan van der Merwe just wasn't a factor. Scotland's pack was always going to be tough, we knew that. But what a defensive masterclass from Jacques Nienaber and Rassie to smother the Scots. That was a very, very good win. I've seen a lot of people say, slow start. We could have been better. We played a very good team in 30 degrees heat, and we limited them to one penalty kick in 82 minutes. That's bloody outstanding.
Yes. It takes a python some time to get itself wrapped around a big cow. And in the beginning you might think, you know what? This python is not going to win this fight. But it does. Okay, and that's what the Boks did, man. They spent the first 20 minutes wrapping themselves around that cow in a kilt. And eventually they swallowed it whole. And it was fantastic. I think defensively, like you say, they were brilliant. Physically, I saw Cheslin going out there like this was the last game of his life. He was throwing himself into oaks. It was outstanding. So I predicted, the one thing I predicted, that we would blow these guys away physically, and they far exceeded what even I thought they were going to do. So it was outstanding.
And because of injuries, it wasn't the famed bomb squad that was introduced. It was kind of like forced on us to get Archie into the game early on.
Yes.
And it was like a drip feed. But when they came on, all had big impact. And South Africa finished the game so strongly as well. You just kept on thinking the more minutes that this game was going to go, the more point opportunities there would be there. I think Manie Lebok's been given a beating for his goal kicking that's not warranted. The one kick was from close on 60 meters. I don't know why they chose for him to kick for goal. He's a kicker that...
Maybe they held up the wrong light.
I think so, eh? It said hook to, not pilot to.
It's purple kick or line out.
Manie, okay, I'm going for poles.
But even the ref asked him twice, are you really going to try and kick this now, man?
Are you sure? No, I'm not sure. But 2 from 5 looks bad, but when you look at the context of those kicks, okay?
Yeah.
So the conversion I thought he should have nailed. But my goodness, his play was just superb. The no-look kick to Kurtley Orense for that try was one of the highlights. But just the way he has brought such width to the Springboks play. From the beginning, we weren't scared to kind of play. I thought at times potentially we played a bit too much in that first 25 minutes between the two 10-meter lines. And when we tightened it a lot more in the second half, we just suffocated them. And but that rush defense was just... And credit to Jesse Creel as well.
Massive.
That guy... He was just putting it on the line. Kurtley Orense putting it on the line. Damian Willems, so Faf obviously throwing himself everywhere. And then Peter Steph du Toit, for me, was just all mongrel.
All over the field.
He was outstanding.
Payback for Peter Steph, you called it.
Payback for Peter Steph. Duan wasn't going
Did he
near
play?
him. He wasn't going near him.
Did Duan van der Merwe play?
He couldn't get into that game because
I did
Finn
not see
Russell
him.
couldn't get into the game.
Finn Russell is nowhere, mate.
I tell you, Finn Russell, when he retires, he's going to put on a few kilos as well. I just look at him and thinking that guy looks like he should be in a bar.
Let me just get this right. We're talking about how the Boks physically manhandled Scotland in the World Cup match and how ferocious they were in defense. And your takeaway from that was that the Scotland Flav is going to pick up weight when he retires.
Seriously, eh? And the difference in the two teams is when Finn Russell came in with no arms to try and take out Kurtley Orense's head, he also injured himself.
But if you look at that collision, right? Have you ever seen the running of the Bulls in Pamplona and the Bulls come down that road, that cobbled street, and you just see Mensah trying to get out the way? Russell looked like he was running to get out of the way of something. I don't know what happened there. I don't think that contact was even intentional.
No, and he completely like mistimed or whatever. I heard
Me ribs!
my ribs, yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, I thought they were going to send Kirtley off for hitting his ribs.
Yeah.
No, it's shocking.
Jeez.
And then Gregor Townsend talks afterwards about an accidental head clash that went unpunished against
Yawn.
Jesse Krill. If you are relying on getting a bloke sent off to win a test, then you shouldn't be in that test.
But that's literally the space that we've created in rugby, where Oaks are looking for any sort of angle to get a key player sent off so they've got a chance at winning. It's not even about the game anymore. It's disgusting.
The Boks, was that a statement performance for you?
Oh,
In the way they won it?
you know, I don't really know what to say, and this is why. So I don't want to be the guy that every time we do the show says, yeah, but listen, when you play a team that can physically stand up to you and blah, 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 you know, I have genuine concerns about when that day comes. Apparently that day is not coming anytime soon because, like I said to you, I finally realized why the Boks weren't stressed about losing Andre, Elton and anybody else who could play 10, or the fact that Manie's goal kicking is not good. Because quite frankly, the standard of world rugby right now is if you pick 16 of the world's most monstrous forwards, you can just wipe the floor with anybody. You don't even need goal kicks. You just physically dominate them, and you kick 2 out of 6, 2 out of 5, whatever, and it's good enough to win. Scotland are ranked number 5 in the world. I mean, they scored 3 points in 80 minutes.
82.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like if it had been 85, they might have lost 3 points. Like there was nothing happening there. So,
And their 3 points came from a 39th minute, and
Yeah.
it came from 45 meters out. They had that one scoring opportunity. Darcy Graham should have offloaded. They had a definite 2-on-1.
Yeah.
He took it in. Great cover tackling. Outside of that, they just never threatened. And Townsend even admitted that afterwards. He said, we're never in a position to score points. And credit to the Springboks for doing that. They are a team, Scotland, that does score points.
Yeah.
They played against France in the warm-up, 30-27 in France, and they were 27-10 down. They came back, leveled it at 27-all, and France got a late winner. When I look at the Boks, we keep on talking about the physicality, the precision, the power of the forwards. And we were really looking for Peter Steff to kind of give that 2019 type performance. There were signs of it leading into the World Cup, but this was Peter Steff at his just brutal,
imperious best.
Yeah. And just so controlled and concise in his game. Power. Poor. I need more poor.
The Scots did need more poor.
There was the magic of Manie, and there was just the mongrel of Peter Steff.
Yeah.
I just thought he was outstanding. Eh?
He was amazing, and he was one of many. There are a few guys in that match day 23 who didn't greatly improve their stock value. Like everybody did their part. It was a great team effort. It wasn't one guy that made it happen. It wasn't one moment of magic. Even though Manie's no-look kick was great, that team was always going to win.
But just the intensity and the urgency they showed defensively. And they scrambled, and they say a happy team is one that scrambles on defense.
Yeah, geez, and Manie backtracking tackles. I mean, geez, absolutely. His scramble was just great.
It was. I was so chuffed with that performance. Anyone who kind of popped into my inbox and said, "Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what game you watched," because we just beat a very good opponent, and it may be the toughest game we have at the World Cup.
Yes. Well, absolutely. But based on this first round, you don't actually know because nothing means anything. You know, England lost to Fiji in the pre-World Cup match, and then made Argentina look like.
No, I think Argentina made themselves look like nothing.
Exactly.
15-on-14 for 77 minutes. They gave away about 25 penalties. It was just a shocking performance. And, you know, I know you love the Pumas. I love the Argentinian soccer side, okay? Because Messi plays for them. Not so much the rugby side, because they're not capable of stringing together 2 or 3 performances. That's why they'll never be a factor at a World Cup. At best, they'll get to a semi-final and get rolled. That team played like they did in Buenos Aires against us. They just didn't have a clue.
But you know what I don't understand about a lot of the form of these early teams is there was no sign of who they have been in recent times. So like Argentina, if they were absolutely brutal physically and had gone over the line and conceded 3 yellow cards and a red and a ton of penalties, and England had converted those into points, I'd say fine. But their set piece got completely rolled by England. England looked like the Boks out there.
By a 7
you know what I
forward
mean?
England.
How do you explain that? I mean, it's just insane. And then, yeah, New Zealand,
Or predictable. New Zealand don't have a pack.
Well,
They picked 3 sevens to put in their loose trio.
yeah, look, I mean, Tupou Vai coming in on, was not great.
And Dalton Papahili, I mean, if you get the watermelons from under his arms,
Yeah.
maybe he would hit a ruck or something.
But they are the rugby championship
Flat
winners.
track bully.
Agreed. I'm just saying they did win the rugby championship.
Well, a shortened rugby championship, 3 games, 2 of them they played
How
at
many
home.
times do you think we'd have to play Scotland for them to do to us what New Zealand did to us in Auckland? 1 million.
No, they could never do it.
But you see what I'm saying? But that New Zealand team is just laid on their backs now for 2 tests in a row. And I mean, just France had complete control of the game. And like I say, France didn't play their greatest rugby either. It's just a weird.
Well, Anton Dupont said it, and he wasn't being arrogant. He said we nearly put 30 points past New Zealand, and we were nowhere near where we could play.
Spot on.
And New Zealand were fortunate to only lose by 14 points.
You're 100% right.
You know, they got that incredible start.
Yeah.
Within 2 minutes, they scored. And they're always going to be able to produce 5 or 7 pointers like that. But as that game rolled on, there was no kicking game from New Zealand because there was absolutely no parity from their forwards. They were poor in the scrum. Their line-out was shaky. And they were just beaten in the collisions. And you look at that back row and you compare it to a Kieran Reid, a Richie McCaw, and Jerome Kino. You just can't compare it. I thought Sam Whitelock was old in 2015. He's there in 2023 and he looks like a pensioner, okay?
Yeah.
Ethan de Groot struggled. Lomax has been missed. And Cody Taylor, it's again, maybe lack of game time, but just wasn't at the races. And then this narrative that's coming out of New Zealand, coming out of that New Zealand camp with Fozzie, like we're sticking to our master plan. This is all part of like the bigger picture.
But the master plan is the problem. So we learned from the All Blacks about the kicking game in 2009. There were elements that we took out of that. Like these guys go, they play France. France kicks the ball 43 times, makes close to 200 tackles. France just gave New Zealand the ball, waited for the mistake, and then scored. Like that is 101. How is New Zealand not understanding that? They got the oak from the Crusaders with them. How do you not comprehend what it takes to win a test match at a World Cup? How does New Zealand think they were going to run France off their feet? It's just the most bizarre thing.
Well, you don't run anyone off your feet to win World Cups.
Exactly, mate.
It just doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
You've got to have an imposing pack. You've got to have an incredibly good defensive structure. And you've got to smother teams. And in tight games, you also want to rely on a good goal kicker.
Yeah.
It's the one area, like we said, Manie hasn't been kicking consistently. You know, he banned everyone over at Twickenham. I don't think he was a 2 from 5, as I said earlier in the show. That one he should never even attempt it. Does his confidence no good. But the way New Zealand play, you're never going to win a World Cup playing like that. Good defensive teams are just going to feast.
How do they not know that?
After 4 years, they don't know that.
How?
Well, Fozzie had a 50% win record in 10 years with Waikato and the Chiefs. And that's why. They played exactly the same way. They had some really, really good backs, some great individuals, but they never threatened. They could never put together kind of consistent performances that were reliant on their pack. I can't believe that that's the best 8 forwards in New Zealand.
Well, it's not, mate. That's why they flew Todd's kid in last week to replace a wing. I mean, given the lack of imposing, gritty forwards available to the All Blacks, how I know Ethan's had some injury issues, but how he wasn't in the mix before is surprising. And to now sort of yank that lever to bring him in for a winger, it smells like desperation.
No, completely they're desperate. I mean, they're talking about Italy being the must-win game or one of the most important games for them. Italy. We're talking the All Blacks against Italy, and it's like how much respect they have for an Italian side. Come on. That's the depth and the level that these guys have sunk to the men in black. I was pleased that they actually played in their black jersey, though. There wasn't all that funny ferns all over the place, okay? So clearly that was just a training jersey.
Let me ask you a question. Broad strokes.
Yeah.
Is this first week, this first round of action, does it project through the rest of the tournament? Are France going to go through? Are New Zealand going to go out in the quarterfinals? Is that it for Scotland? Or Australia on track? Is England going to, you know what I mean? Like, how much stock do you put in these results?
A lot. Because France-New Zealand was a big game.
Yes.
It could have been a quarterfinal, it could have been a final. and we saw France emphatically take them apart.
Yes.
South Africa, Scotland, big game.
Okay.
South Africa smothered them, suffocated them, and beat them comfortably. France, South Africa will be there at the end. They are the two teams to beat.
Okay.
England/Australia will eliminate each other, but one of them will get to a semi-final just because of the draw, not because they're good enough. And they'll get rolled in that semi-final.
Okay. So Argentina, write them off.
Write them off.
Write them off.
Write them off.
Don't cry for me.
They can go home now.
Go home.
They were terrible, okay? Whoever plays them in a quarterfinal, if they get that far, will roll them, okay?
Ireland?
Ireland, we'll see when they play us.
Yeah.
I don't think it helps that they played Romania and put 80 points past them. Doesn't help their preparation.
But you think Ireland will beat Scotland now?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they'll beat them. Psychologically, they got the edge there as well. To me, it's South Africa and France. Pre the tournament, they were my favorites, and they both put down markers, statement performances. Ireland, just out of consistency in the last 4 years, they've been very good. Psychologically, they have it to go beyond a quarterfinal. If they've got to play France in the quarterfinal in Paris, I'm always backing France to win that one.
Yeah.
But those are the three teams. People saying there's 6-7 teams that can win this tournament. Never. 3. 2 at
Mate,
best.
based on
3.
this opening weekend, there's only one team that's got any chance of winning.
And that's
this
going to be
one.
South Africa.
And that's South Africa.
And that's not because we paid, like we biased, or because we, what's that word I'm looking for? Parochial. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, parochial. Oh.
Not because we're parochial, but we are just much better than anyone else that's there.
Based on this first round, absolutely.
Based on kind of the quality of world rugby at the moment. I mean, Eddie Jones calling a 35-15 win against Georgia one of the great wins. I've got to think Eddie's lost the plot a bit as well. I do love him, though.
He's either he's actually insane or he's having the best time.
I think he's having the best time.
Yeah.
For that young Australian side, Ben Donaldson, they're talking this guy up as if he's Andre Joubert.
As if he's Stephen Donald.
No, just shocking. And the World Rugby even gave him an extra 2 points for a conversion they had to take back. So, but look, there's going to be some nice rugby. We're going to see some entertaining games. You know, Chile scored their first ever try at a World Cup. They're celebrating 42-12. They lost. That became irrelevant. Romania were 5-0 up after 3 minutes. That's when they should have left the World Cup. And 82-8, they went down to Ireland. The great thing, the guys that tell me, like Ollie's got, he had half the Irish team in his fantasy league for this weekend, and he said they did him good, especially Johnny Sexton, 7 conversions. He was his primary kicker.
You know what I didn't see happening is us getting to the end of this first round of action, and Portugal unbeaten.
Portugal unbeaten, Tonga unbeaten. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they haven't played yet. And no, just there was nothing in this opening weekend that surprised me.
Really?
I knew that Argentina were going to be poor, okay? And that mentally they wouldn't be able to take England. I thought that Fiji would actually be less of a threat, and then didn't realize how stupid they were. Because that was some of the most stupid rugby I've ever seen.
Yeah.
How they didn't win that game comfortably, to lose at 32-26.
But Wales is that kind of team, aren't they? They'll race you for the title of stupidest rugby.
Well,
right?
I mean, Fiji between Fiji and Argentina, give them the gold medal for just mind-blowing stupidity when it comes to game management.
I mean, Argentina
how Fiji
game,
lost, how Argentina will reflect on that game, given an extra player advantage for 77 minutes. Look, they had one of their guys in the bin for 10 of them, but they never looked at all like they knew what they were doing.
They looked like they jogged to the stadium. They were out of puff. They just looked flat. Nothing going on there.
And you talk about out of puff, eh? Let's not underestimate the weather conditions. 33 degrees, 30 degrees. I mean, going into the evening close to 30 degrees. And that's again where our bomb squad comes to the fore. Because players look finished in every game. Here by 35, 36 minutes. They've just looked exhausted. The conditions are extreme to be playing in. The only thing worse is playing tennis at the US Open. And
Matey.
And so when you get fresh legs that come on, and the quality of fresh legs that we bring to this Springbok outfit, who's going to stay with us? Because France certainly aren't.
I just can't shake this feeling that, and it literally is just a gut feeling, that this is just the beginning of a World Cup that's going to have lots of twists and turns.
But where are these twists and turns going to come, Ricky?
I don't know, mate.
Where are they going to come?
I don't know. I just
Come on, Rick.
I just feel like it's really dangerous in France at the moment. With the weather, everybody's getting hot. They don't know how to think straight. Crazy decisions, man. My amigos and I, we aren't sure what's going to happen, but we hope the Springboks win it, and win it well.
Listen here, man. You talk about twists and turns.
Yes.
Now, I've got to hold you to account on one thing.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, you said, it wouldn't surprise me if the Boks beat Scotland by 50.
Yes.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they lost to Scotland.
Yes.
You don't quite know what's going on.
Yes.
But you are the editor of SARugbymag.
But let me put it this way. Our whole team, we did predictions. Everybody picked the All Blacks to beat France. The bookies had France as minor favorites in that game. France made the All Blacks look like Ivory Coast.
But
How?
in that whole build-up to the first week, it's like, how could anyone have picked the All Blacks after Twickenham? To even go near France, and based on that 40-25 defeat 2 years ago in Paris against France.
For the same reason that before we played them at Ellis Park, you said,
Bury them.
bury them now, because these Oaks are dangerous. And we didn't. And they beat us for the exact same reason.
But they're just not good enough at the moment.
Correct. But they're not just not good enough, they are terrible based on that first round of action. But they won the Rugby Championship a couple of months ago.
A shortened one, 3 games. I'm not putting too much stock in that. They also won the Bledisloe Cup.
They beat the world champions who are indomitable at the World Cup right now in Auckland.
Yeah, but in hindsight, we know why.
Got there week early, mate.
Got there week early and had like a really good time. And got blitzed, okay? We weren't that smart that night at Mount Smart.
No, mate. I like what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have 3 Mickey Mouse games now, Italy being their toughest, and they'll get to a quarterfinal. It'll probably be us that they play. And where are they going to find the cattle? Ethan Blackadder, if he makes it to that quarterfinal, given the horror run he's had with injuries, will add some mongrel to that pack.
Sure.
Retallick should be back, and Lomax should be back.
What about Frizzell? What's the story with him?
Hamstring, that thing can trouble you all tournament. I just, again, even if they get their best 15 on the field, look at their bench. And that's...
No, their bench is hideous.
Watching the game yesterday with the lads, and it was 6-0, 6-3. It's like, don't be worried, boys, because look what we've got waiting to come on. Look what they've got.
Yeah.
And that is going to be so definitive in this World Cup. If we thought the introduction of the bomb squad in 2019 was revolutionary, this is just on a different scale. Because I also think in 2019, the opposition was decidedly stronger than we have at the moment.
Yes, I agree with that. I've just messed coffee all over my hoodie. What a beautiful morning, mate.
You look troubled this morning.
I am troubled. I'm deeply troubled.
you look
Deeply.
Like, you look like Gregor Townsend and Ian Fozzie combined.
Oh, mate.
So you say twists and turns, eh?
I feel like there may be some twists and turns. I just can't believe that New Zealand can be that tactically naive, along with having absolutely no cattle. Scotland have got to be worth more than 3 points when they play Ireland. Can they ambush those guys? I don't know. England can't possibly be that much better than Argentina. Will Argentina bounce back? Will England sink again?
But you look at that All Black performance against England in the semi-final, and then you look at this first one up. Where have they taken the game in 4 years?
Yeah.
There's been no advancement. There's been no different psychology, different philosophy. Rugby hasn't changed in essence. If you've got a good strong pack and you've got a good 10 and 9 who can control a game and potentially a 15 that know the beauty of playing field position, of building scoreboard pressure, and kind of playing that kind of game doesn't mean you don't play without risk, but you control your risk.
100%.
And watching the All Blacks play, watching Fiji play, it's kind of like just stupid rugby. Even watching Argentina, when you had the one-man advantage, you're trying to play barbarians type rugby against England from 20 meters from your own try line. And George Ford just potted them over left, right, and center.
Exactly.
It was just mind-numbing how stupid the tactical approach was from some of these teams. And these are paid professionals, paid coaches, among the highest paid in the world in terms of this sport. And that's what they produce on the first weekend of a World Cup.
Yeah. I did some research a couple of years ago on what happens when you get a yellow card. And on the data that we had there were actually, the trend was that when you concede a yellow card, you actually score more points than your opponents during that time. And it's because in rugby, oaks are thick as two short planks. They're like, we've got an extra man now. Let's throw. Let's go. And that's exactly what happens. You play into the trap. Maybe that's why we took Eben off. Just encourage them. Hey, have a go, man.
Well, I mean, they couldn't even have a go. They
had nothing.
And whenever they got the ball, they were like 5-10 meters behind where they wanted to be on terms of a gain line collision. It was just frantic. The exits, they couldn't exit. They had to try and exit with ball in hand because kicking it just gave the ball back to us.
Yeah.
I look at the 3 performances we've had, Wales and Cardiff, the All Blacks at Twickenham, and this one, and you just got to say each time we've really come in with a statement performance. We've shown the ability, and we being the Springboks in South Africa, have shown the ability to control a game with the ball, but also scramble and defend.
Yeah,
that match at Twickenham, we're at 35-0, we were still scrambling on defense. We actually didn't want them to score any points. And the biggest thing I take from Sunday's win against Scotland is they got 3. You know, it reminds me of 1998 when the Springboks beat England 18-0 in Newlands in torrential rain and all that. And the English reporters asked Nick Mallett, who was then the Boks coach, are you disappointed? And he said, why? Your team got 0. And he said, I'm euphoric in these conditions. So I think that would be Russ's response to anyone saying, what do you think of that game? They got 3.
Yeah.
They got 1 kick at post
100%.
from 45 meters.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And people like to see 5-6 tries and like a 35-10 win. In the context of a World Cup and what's going to win you World Cups in terms of playoff games and especially a final, that was a statement performance from the Boks.
100%.
And France haven't experienced that kind of intensity, and neither have Ireland really. A rush defense that is that aggressive and kind of in your face for 80 minutes. There were hints of it in Marseille when we went on tour, hints of it at Dublin, and they didn't handle it particularly well, either of them. They got the win 30-26 against us and 19-16. There was 1 score in it, and we weren't particularly good with the ball in those 2 test matches. But we showed physically we have their measure.
Did you see that thing that Jim Hamilton scribbled? I think it was before the game. He was talking about South Africa and their mentality. And he said, like, these South African players, they are built for rugby. And South African players just have this inherent violence in them. Lovely, humble people off the field. Very family-orientated and religious. But when they go on a rugby field, there's an inherent violence in them. And I think he pretty much hit the nail on the head. That is the differentiator, is that South Africans play like it's a matter of life or death, specifically the forwards. And nobody has anything to counter that.
Yeah, and they don't play like it's a sport, eh? They play like they are defending their honour, defending a nation. And there is so much emotion around the Springboks and what rugby means to this country. And especially now that it is a team that's representative of a country, not just an elite minority.
Yeah.
And no one really has that. It's you know, Scott Gibbs always says, yes, the Bok yes. We have a yes that is just, it takes a very good team to beat us.
Yeah.
And I don't see those teams at the World Cup. I'm glad that France won. It's great for the tournament. And it's kind of a fair reflection of where France are and where New Zealand is. And again, you know, people giving this New Zealand side a respect they don't deserve based on their predecessors. New Zealand, the greatest rugby nation in the world, consistently, without a doubt.
True.
77% win record from the start of time. Some wonderful teams. But these blokes that are at this World Cup.
Imposters. Fozzie's
imposters, mate.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, I just want to say, if and when somebody does actually muscle up and make us sweat a bit up front, and that's actually what I liked about this match, is that Peter de Villiers did some nice things with that tight 5, and France, had to spend some time on his face at scrum time. I think that's probably a good reset for us, you know? Just like, it's not too easy. There is, you know, people can put it together. They gave us a bit of a shove at the scrum in the first half, and we tweaked it, what we were doing, and destroyed them in the second. But I quite like that. All I'm saying is, when somebody eventually does find a way to come close to us in the pack, this goal-kicking thing is going to become an issue. And it's something that we have the time to address, and I think it has to be addressed. And I hope it doesn't factor into this World Cup. And the way things look right now, it doesn't matter whether we don't even try and kick our points because, like I say, we can physically dominate. But it is something that has the potential to cost us dearly in a knockout game where you don't have next week to recover.
Look, I don't think anyone's disputing that you want your kicker to be kicking 4 out of 5, not 2 out of 5. Okay?
Yeah.
But I keep on saying protect Manie. If you know he's a confidence player,
100%.
don't take the kicks when they...
That kick was crazy. That was a
But don't
front
take
stain kick.
Don't take the kicks unless you feel that this is a gimme. Let him get 2, 3 in a row. That's 3 from 3. He's got his kicking boots on. That old cliche that people haul out. He gets 1 from 3 and he's missed 2 from 60 meters. It's like he hasn't got them on today. No, he should never have taken those kicks.
Yeah.
So let's protect him a bit more in terms of getting his percentages up because I do believe he can kick. He's the highest point scorer in the URC 2 successive seasons. Kicked that incredible clutch kick against Ulster in the semi-final at 15 all to win it 17-15 and take the Stormers into the final. And they won against the Bulls the next week. The guy can kick for polls. The points are there.
He can kick a ball, period. Yeah.
So let's give him that confidence, but let's also protect him a little bit more. If you look at the first round, Zels,
Yes, sir.
Star performers?
Sure, that's a nice one. I mean, that Capwoza Oak scored a nice try for Italy. I want to see, I thought Fiji had their moments. Redrado, besides dropping the ball at the end, he had his moments. I think Penao's Oak is going to come through in a big way. I didn't really see anybody who was like, this guy's going to take over the World Cup like Jonah Lomu or Brian Abana. But good. Who caught your eye?
Look, I think just DuPont is an outstanding 9, and he's. I mean, they had to play their way into that first 40 minutes as well, but there was no panic. Pinot, I know you love him. I'm learning to love him as a winner. He is very good. I thought Mark Tellier is outstanding. He is a very, very. He's the best. He's the best winner in New Zealand at the moment. Why they have a specialist winner on the bench, I don't know. So I thought Aldert, the 8 from France was also outstanding. From that game, those are the ones that really impressed me. Looking at the Boks game,
Who is your favourite Romanian player?
The guy, the left winner, looks like he's from Fiji. I can't pronounce his surname. But he plays somewhere in Bucharest. I wouldn't know, mate.
No, no idea.
They don't tease me, mate. I wouldn't know. I've never looked at that Romanian lineup. I just know there's quite a few Kiwis in there, I think, and a few Islanders.
Yeah.
And maybe the odd South African as well.
I was going to say, there should be.
So, I don't know. I know that they were 5-0 up after 5 minutes and lost 82-8. So, don't ask me about Romania and don't ask me about
Chile.
Portugal. I also don't know, really. And I don't really want to know. I only want to know about the top 4 teams, and there's only 3 of them at the moment. But so from the Boks setup, I mean, you could pick one of 20. I thought Peter Steff was really outstanding, and again, you spoke about it earlier, Zels. Cheslin and Kurtley Orense, just the way they scrap, man.
Jeez.
I mean, it's hard for Duan van der Merwe to run when you've got 2 Oaks like that, your ankles like that.
Yeah.
So in a very good team performance, they like kind of stood out for me. George Ford kicked very well, and England showed good ticker, but it was that typical like bulldog England kind of performance they produce once in a decade. Backs to the wall, written off, and then combine that with absolute Argentinian stupidity.
Apathy, yeah.
And stupidity.
Yeah.
And you've got that kind of result. So I mean when I look at this opening round, nothing much unexpected for me, and those who did performed. But it was so good to see Peter Steff du Toit just showing us the kind of form of 2019. And to me, he can be the player of the tournament. He's my early bet for player of the tournament. I haven't been wrong with too many things. Put that one down, okay? Him or DuPont.
Mate, one thing that the opening round taught me is not to bet against you, mate. Peter Steff for president.
Peter Steff du Toit. He just had that grunt in him that I haven't seen for a while, and it was just a really, really good performance. And Sia Khaleesi as well. I mean, geez, that guy just keeps on defying us, and defying science.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who's now played 3 tests on the trot, and was out for 3 months, and he should have been out for 9 months. with a knee operation. No, just inspirational stuff. We now have an easy one against Romania, and then obviously the big one against Ireland. Win or lose against Ireland, it's what people said before the All Black game in New Zealand. Beat France, oops, we play Ireland or South Africa. Lose to France, oops, we play Ireland or South Africa. That's going to be you know, the pressure is off us with Ireland in many respects because we got the Scotland win, and I don't think we really care whether it's New Zealand or France in the quarterfinal based on what that opening round showed us on Friday.
Yeah.
Look at you, eh? He of little faith, eh?
Give me France. I'd much rather play France. I'd much rather go into the game against France where they're the favourites and it's like, oh, you know, can the world champions beat the host? Then us go into a World Cup playoff match against the All Blacks as the overwhelming favourites.
You know what? When are you going to say, okay, they're the team? 28th of October at the end whistle when they won. Is that the only time?
Yeah. The Springboks are the team.
Is that the only time you're going to acknowledge, listen here, it's comfort at home. Ons is gesellig. Ons voel baie goed.
I do feel, I've said it in the show, there is only one team at the World Cup based on the opening round.
There's one team at the World Cup in 2 packs, and they come from the same team.
Same team, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the Springboks.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, 18-3. I enjoyed France's win, 27-13. Didn't really care for much else that was going on this weekend. Saw bits and bobs of it. It's a long World Cup, eh? Pick your games carefully.
Tell me about it.
Pick your games carefully and keep those relationships intact.
Yes.
We're going to have an easy build-up this week. We're going to chat a bit later in the week, but it's going to be fun. We're going to play Romania. We'll probably knock close to 100 past them, or maybe a 50 if we play our fringe players. But what a great start for South Africa, the defending champions. 18-3 against a Scotland side that spoke a big game. They had a great build-up. They are well coached. Gregor Townsend's outstanding coach. Finn Russell, don't underestimate the effort it took to keep that magician
out of the donut box.
Out of the donut box and keep him under wraps. Zels, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Go get your SARugbymag magazine.
Do it.
A World Cup issue. It's a fantastic 164-pager. And to all of you who watch, we really appreciate it. We went past 400,000 views last week on all the social media and YouTube accounts. And we've gone past 7 million views in the last year. So thanks for watching. Keep those tweets coming. Keep those messages rolling into the inbox. And be happy. Have a good week. Because South Africa were magnificent. They were the best team on show in round 1 of the World Cup.